They say the walls in city apartment buildings are paper thin. You learn a lot about your neighbors without ever actually speaking to them. You learn their schedules, their favorite TV shows, and exactly how they take their coffee just by listening to the rhythm of their mornings. My apartment was 4B, and living directly next door to me in 4A was Harper. Harper was a mystery. She was a quiet, fiercely introverted illustrator who worked from home. Whenever we crossed paths in the hallway or the lobby, she would blush, duck her head, give a tiny polite smile, and quickly rush past me. She smelled like vanilla and old books, and she possessed this soft, effortless beauty that completely scrambled my brain every time I saw her. I was completely, utterly captivated by her, but I was also terrified of making her uncomfortable, so I kept my distance. Our only real connection was our balconies. They were separated by a single frosted glass divider. On warm nights, I would sit outside reading, and I could hear the soft scratching of her charcoal pencils on paper on the other side of the glass. Sometimes she would softly hum along to indie folk music. Those quiet evenings, sitting just 3 feet away from her with a pane of glass between us, were the best parts of my day. It was a breezy Friday night in October. I was sitting on my balcony in the dark, wrapped in a sweater, nursing a mug of tea. The city lights were glowing in the distance. I could hear the faint sound of her radio playing on the other side of the divider. Then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled out my phone, expecting an email from my boss or a meme from my brother. Instead, the screen displayed a text message from a number I didn't have saved, but I knew exactly who it was. The building manager had put us all in a group chat a month ago about a plumbing issue, and I had secretly memorized her number. Not that I had ever used it. The text read, "Chloe, I swear I'm going to lose my mind. He's sitting outside again. He looks so good in that gray sweater, and I'm literally hiding behind my easel so he doesn't see me staring. I wish he would just look at me." My heart completely stopped. I looked down at myself. I was wearing a gray sweater. I slowly turned my head toward the frosted glass divider. Through the slightly translucent glass, I could see the faint silhouette of her canvas, and a small shadow crouched right behind it. She wasn't talking to Chloe. She had opened the wrong message thread. She had accidentally sent her late-night confession directly to the guy she was secretly admiring. My mind started racing. If I didn't reply, she would eventually realize her mistake and probably pack up and move to another state out of sheer embarrassment. If I did reply, I risked shattering the fragile, quiet dynamic we had built over the last 6 months. I looked at the text again. I wish he would just look at me. My hands were shaking. I typed out a response, deleted it, and typed it again. I took a deep breath, fighting the massive knot in my stomach, and hit send. Through the glass, I saw the shadow of her silhouette completely freeze. The soft music playing on her radio was suddenly turned down to absolute silence. My message was simple. I'm always looking at you, Harper. The silence that stretched between our balconies felt like a physical weight. I waited, my heart hammering against my ribs. I could hear the faint, rapid sound of her breathing from the other side of the divider. Then my phone buzzed again. "Oh my God," the text read. "Please tell me I didn't just send that to you." I smiled, a massive wave of relief washing over me. I typed back, "If it makes you feel any better, I've spent the last 6 months trying to figure out a cool, non-creepy way to ask you out, so you kind of just did me a huge favor." I stared at the 3 little typing dots on my screen. They appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. She was panicking. Finally, a new message popped up. "I am literally going to dissolve into the floorboard. Please pretend this never happened." I put my phone down on the small patio table. I didn't want to text anymore. I stood up from my chair and walked slowly over to the edge of the frosted glass divider. "Harper?" I called out softly, my voice barely above a whisper, carrying easily over the quiet balcony. There was no answer, just a faint rustling of fabric. "Harper, please don't dissolve into the floorboard," I said, leaning my shoulder against the cool metal railing, because then I'd have to explain to the landlord why my beautiful neighbor vanished, and honestly, the paperwork sounds exhausting. I heard a very soft, breathless laugh from the other side of the glass. "I'm so embarrassed." Her voice floated over the divider, quiet and trembling. "I was trying to text my sister." "I know," I said gently, "but for what it's worth, I really like the gray sweater too. But I'd trade it in a heartbeat just to come to your side of the glass and finally say hello properly." For a long moment, there was nothing. Then I saw her silhouette move. She stepped around her easel and walked up to the edge of the glass divider. We were standing mere inches apart, separated only by a sheet of frosted glass. "It's unlocked," she whispered. "What is?" "The divider gate," she said, her voice shaking slightly but filled with a sudden beautiful bravery. "The latch is on your side." I looked down. Between the glass panel and the railing, there was a small, rusty metal latch that connected our balconies. In 6 months, neither of us had ever touched it. My hand moved almost entirely on its own. I reached down, flicked the latch open, and gently pushed the frosted glass panel aside. There she was, without the glass, without the shadows, without the quick, nervous hallway glances. She was wearing an oversized cardigan, her dark hair slightly messy, a smudge of charcoal on her left cheek. Her eyes were wide, glittering with a mix of absolute terror and undeniable hope. She looked breathtaking. I stepped across the boundary line, officially leaving my balcony and stepping onto hers. "Hi," I said softly, looking down at her. "Hi," she breathed out, looking up into my eyes. She didn't look away this time. She didn't duck her head or rush past me. She stood her ground. "I guess the paper-thin walls finally worked in my favor," I smiled, reaching out and very gently brushing the smudge of charcoal off her cheek with my thumb. She closed her eyes for a split second, leaning into the touch. "I'm glad I texted the wrong number," she whispered. We didn't need to say anything else. I didn't have to go back to my side of the balcony that night. We stayed out there for hours, talking, laughing, and watching the city sleep, realizing that everything we had been looking for had been sitting right on the other side of the glass the whole time. Sometimes the universe disguises our biggest blessings as a clumsy mistake. A wrong turn, a dropped coffee, or an accidental text message can bridge a gap that we were too afraid to cross ourselves. Thank you for listening and spending this time with us on the Velvet Porch. If this story brought a smile to your face or reminded you of a hidden truth in your own life, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join our cozy community. Tell me in the comments below, have you ever sent a text to the completely wrong person, and did it lead to something beautiful? Until next time, keep your stories warm and your loved ones closer. Take care.